My heart just breaks, sir. For a mother to know that their child was calling them in their need and I wasn't there for him. Do you know how I feel right now? Because I wasn't there for my son. I told, I had an, I was telling someone that I had this really bad pain in my stomach earlier, not knowing what had happened. But once I found out what happened, that was my son's pain that I was feeling. And I didn't even know. But for me to find out that my son was calling my name and I was only feet away and did not even hear him, you have no clue how I feel right now. No clue.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, and we'll try to limit the questions for Ms. Wells, and we'll try to take all of them. You asked, why hasn't it changed? Well, you know, we have been dealing with racism and discrimination in America, and, you know, racism across the world for hundreds of years. And it's going to have to be intentional, being able to disseminate, deconstruct racism and bias. And as I said, it is the institutionalized police culture. It's not just the police culture, it's the justice system. We have bias in every aspect of society. And so you don't see officers doing this to white citizens because our court system has said that they value white life more than any other life. And so we finally have to speak truth to power on these issues to say the reason why we keep seeing it happen to black and brown people is because it is the culture in this society that we can marginalize brown and black people, that we can trample on the constitutional rights of black and brown people. And that's why we have to continue to say, no, it's not equal justice for some, it's equal justice for all.
Any comment on the fact that the 5 officers were
Yes, they have a right as any American citizen to have a reasonable bail because they are presumed innocent and to proven guilty. We don't want to change any of the standards because they are black police officers. Whatever has been done for other officers who were not black, who committed these crimes on video, well, it should be equal justice. Everybody is presumed innocent and to proven guilty in America.
Attorney Crump, Mike Magazine. I understand that this is not the first time that this has happened in the city of Memphis. Moving forward, how do you think the police department can be swept clean?
Well, you know, I'm gonna ask my co-counsel, Attorney Romanucci, and Attorney Turner to speak to those matters. Tony, from a national standpoint about these specialized units, and then Attorney Turner about here in Memphis.
So your question was, how do we clean this up?
Moving forward.
Yeah.
How do you clean up the police department moving forward?
Well, you have to start with swift activity. And the swift activity is the call out to stop and disband this unit. And then from there, going in and restoring trust. Well, how do you restore trust? How about real community policing as opposed to suppression and racist policing? That's where you have to start. But let me tell you how your question matches the gentleman's question in the front row. Why do we see this continuing to happen? I'll give you 2 reasons. It's a two-way street. The community wants it, but the other side doesn't want it. The unions don't want it. This is like a carnival. You see the strong man trying to hit the target and ring the bell, and it's a rigged game? Well, we try to ring the bell, but we can't because it's rigged. Until we start reform with municipalities and the union contracts, where real reform is baked in, that's when you'll start seeing real changes. Number two, call out the lawmakers in Washington who failed on the George Floyd Police Reform Act. Call them out. You want change? We need federal change, not only state change.
Well said. Well said, Attorney Romanucci. Yes, Sarah?
I have two questions. One is for you or your co-counsel about, we have heard from people who have talked about the scorpion unit. And I'm curious if the thing that they have said is they will purposely send black officers to certain areas because they can, quote, treat people any kind of way. When they're the same color, there won't be the same light on them. So I wanted to hear if you've heard the same thing from some of the people you've been talking to. And I have a question, and I apologize for making you speak again, ma'am, because I know this is so far from you. But for Mrs. Wells, can you tell us, does your son come to your home on a nightly basis on his break to come and have food and a meal with you and his father?
Well-
Is that what he was doing?
Well, this happened,
Let's get you for the mic. And
this particular incident happened on the weekend. Tyre and his dad, they work for FedEx. They both work second shift, and they come home for lunch every day at 7 o'clock. I would have dinner cooked, they would eat, hang out, and go back to work. Well, now my husband is coming home every day, but not my son. So,
Was he on his way home, just he was off that day?
it was a Saturday. He was coming from Shelby Farms for about the time of the incident because he liked to go and watch the sunset and take pictures. That was his thing. My son loved the sunsets. That was his passion. He loved photography. He loved skateboarding. He was just his own person, you know. He didn't follow what everybody else was doing. I tried to buy him a pair of Jordans one time, and oh, Mama, I want those. He wants some Vans, you know. So I'm just telling you guys, my son was a beautiful soul. He was a good boy. No one's perfect, but he was damn near. He was close to the home.
The others around to try and get anyone at your house, you to hear him.
Yes. He was scared for his life. And just what I thought, like I said, I didn't see the video, but everyone asked me what I thought happened. And I told them, the TBI people and everybody. And I told them, now you proved me wrong.
And she said that before she knew about the video, just from seeing the photograph that they took in the hospital.
Yes.
Seeing him in the hospital that next day with his head swelled up, they said beyond recognition, and his neck swollen.
Broken.
Yeah,
So,
thank you. I think briefly to try to respond to the first part of your question, as Attorney Romanucci said, the police chief should disband the Scorpion unit immediately. I am sad to even think that what you said is true, that they would use African-American officers to go berate African-American citizens because they thought it would get less attention. We know that other citizens have now come forward to my office saying that their constitutional rights were violated by the Scorpion unit and that they actually tried to report them and nothing happened. So, you know, we cannot give anybody a pass on our constitutional rights, on our dignity, on our humanity. It doesn't matter if it's a black police officer or a white police officer. And that's what hurts so bad, because you want them to see the humanity in us, and you keep thinking to yourself, these officers got to understand that, that could have been your brother, your little brother. Tyre could have been your little brother. Would you want anybody to do what you were doing to Tyre to your little brother? And that's how you have to think about it. That what if this was my family member? Hopefully every police officer in America would start thinking when they interact with a citizen, what if this was my brother or my sister or my child? That's what we want. We want compassion and respect. The same way you de-escalate with white citizens, well, de-escalate with black citizens too. We all want to get home to our families. We want you to get home to your family, and we want to get home to our mama. We'll take a few more. Yes, let's go quick.
What do you say to the activists that actually be boots on the ground? Because I know that you all are, legal team, and you all are here whenever we need you as far as in the legal realm. But the activists is really the ones that's out there bringing attention to the situation. And myself personally, in this field, have been pushed off by, legal team, knowing that I'm standing for the families, and even talking to other activists that actually stand for these families and actually are being the voice out there. What do you tell them whenever they're the ones out there fighting for the family and to be pushed off and not to be, heard whenever they're actually on the front line?
One of the first things I always try to do, and Silk and Kareem and a lot of people who are activists end up working for my law firm, because when you have a commitment to justice, that's what we want to be about. And I always want to thank the activists. Every press conference, the first thing I do is come and thank the activists, because without you all, we wouldn't be at this point. Nobody was talking about justice for Tyre like Kareem Ali and you all. I mean, I kept saying there's something going on with this attorney Crump, and I want to applaud you all privately and publicly, because without you all, we wouldn't get justice for Tyre. We wouldn't have got justice for George Floyd. We wouldn't have got justice for Ahmaud Arbery. We wouldn't get justice for Breonna Taylor without the activists serving as our co-counsels. There's no way we can get justice. So we thank all the activist community.
Yes.
And just two more. You two.
Yeah.
Attorney Crump, your co-counsel, Mr. Romanucci, you can probably speak to this as well. He referred to the actions of the officers as an intentional act. These 5 former officers face second-degree murder charges. Does your office believe there is sufficient evidence to possibly pursue upgraded charges to murder in the first degree?
Well, I'll say this and then I'll let Tony speak. I think that the DA had the benefit of being able to slow down the tape and dissect the video and look at blow by blow, kick by kick, strike by strike with the police stick, every aspect of it. So I want to believe that they tried to show respect to Mr. and Mrs. Wells and charge them with the most they felt they could get a conviction on. And make no mistake about it, the video, when you all sit, you all try to think to yourself, what are the correct charges? Because we all got eyesight. We don't need anybody to interpret it for us. You look at that video for yourself and you say, were the actions intentional? I mean, when you kicking somebody and it's not a reaction kick, you actually stutter for a minute and make sure that you get the kick in. That seems intentional as anything you can imagine. Attorney Romanucci.
Yeah, thank you.
Just one second, let him respond to this and then.
Yeah, I just want to confirm, lest anybody ever thought that there was an exaggeration or an overstatement as to what you will see. Number one, look at the charges, read the charges, and you will see that there has been none. Secondly, our independent medical autopsy, our medical examiner, and I'm allowed to give the quote, she said that these injuries are consistent with a severe beating. That is the quote. So when you take that quote and you understand what we've seen and what the charges are, those are maximum charges. Murder requires a little bit more something, and I agree with Ben that the state's attorney looked at these charges and did whatever they could. Whether or not there was any other charges out there, well, maybe the evidence will bear that out. But don't forget, this is what the charges bear out. When you look at the medical examiner and the charges, there's consistency.
Thank you, Tyler. And remember on the video, there's some audio, so you will hear audio, and that is very compelling because it kind of tells what your intent is when you say things. Yes, sir.
This morning, Chief C.J. Davis said that the stop was questionable. He said they've been unable to verify the reckless driving allegations. I'm wondering, what can you tell us about the moments leading up to MPD making contact with Tyre?
Well, we look forward to getting the radio transactions and any calls that were made because we don't know anything other than we got to see the video. So they say he was driving recklessly. You know, we have to see it. We certainly can't take their word for it. And if not, then it goes to what Attorney Romanucci said. A lot of these stops are pretext stops. You know, yes, ma'am. And then I come.
Good morning. This is to Mr. Ms. And I offer my sincere sympathies to you. During the day, my job, I wear a black robe. I'm Judge Kim. I'm in traffic court. I've been there for 26 years. People have asked why I stay there. And it's to ensure a system that's just and fair that starts here.
Yes, ma'am.
In these years, when I get new officers, I ask them to remember 4 things. Treat people the way that you want to treat them.
Be treated.
Right, be treated. You want them to treat members of their family. Treat them that way. Make it home to your family. And don't take any unnecessary risk. And remember that people that you interact with want to make it home to their families too.
Right.
I'm sorry that whatever happened that evening, that the message wasn't received. And I'm giving you my sincere sympathy.
Thank
And
you.
I'm going to continue as a judge, not to hide behind the black robe like I can't stand it. A system that's just and fair for everyone. Because I've been stopped for suspected burglary. I've been stopped for suspected shooting in an area. A few weeks ago, I had a gentleman who was stopped and was upset because the police didn't show him tell him why they were stopping him. And he had his daughters, and he was going to be a man and show his daughters you have rights. And I explained to him, sir, your objective is to get home. You fight in court.
Amen.
To try to ensure for a system that's just and fair. My sympathies, mine, because I'm speaking for Jane Chandler, a mother.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Judge Chandler.
Thank you.
Okay, last question.
Thanks very much for entertaining questions today and for the time. Lauren Castillo with the Commercial Appeal here in Memphis.
Yes, ma'am.
You discussed potential civil litigation against the patterns you allege in the Scorpion unit. Tyre also fits a potential additional pattern, perhaps in Memphis. He, prior to his death, 3 other people were fatally shot by Memphis police officers in December. I'm curious if you, in your pursuit of justice in this case, have a message either to the families of those victims or the police department or other officials here about the treatment of those cases as well.
Yes, ma'am. As a national civil rights attorney, we go to many municipalities and communities, and you often hear about other tragedies that happened before the high-profile case that's going on. And what we try to do is try to lift all of the injustices up. And we try to speak to all of those. And hopefully at future rallies for justice for Tyre, we invite those families to stand with Ms. Wells and Mr. Wells, because none of these tragedies are any more important than any of the others. All of our children matter. And we have to continue to say that. Each and every one of our children have a right to live on this earth, to breathe another breath. And so we have to continue to do that. I would hope that the city leadership, if the Department of Justice deems it appropriate to have a pattern and practice investigation of the Memphis Police Department, that they will welcome it, that they won't try to fight or object to it. Hopefully that the city council members will say that we want to have an internal audit of ourselves. Let's just don't look outward and try to get resentful when Crump and all us lawyers start saying that there's a problem with police culture. Because, you know, the best way to solve the problems with police culture is for the police to work with the community and be transparent, accept accountability, and build trust. That is how you can deal with this culture. And they may attack us and try to say, oh, they continue to attack police. As we've often said, we're not anti-police, we're anti-bad police who killed Tyre, who killed George Floyd, who lied and killed Breonna Taylor, who lied and killed Alton Sterling, all these people who, Ronald Green, I met. Jalen Randall, absolutely. We're against those officers who skirt the rules to justify these unjustifiable killings of our children, Judge Chandler. That's who we're against. And if you want to help us, if you want to take this argument away from us, then help us fix the police culture where we can go another month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months without the media rushing to the next city to report on the latest hashtag that becomes part of American society. And y'all know the names. We don't even have to explain them to you. That's how bad it is when we say Michael Brown, when we say Tamir Rice, when we say Alton Sterling, when we say Eric Gardner, when we say Stephon Clark, when we say Laquan McDonough, when we say Philando Castile, when we say Dante Wright, when we say Amir Locke, I mean, Atiana Jefferson. I mean, is that not a systematic problem with the culture when you have these many unarmed black people dying? We're not talking about people who got guns coming at the police. Because we look at the data. Attorney Romanucci is, Van Turner. I mean, these are great lawyers. We don't just go willy-nilly. We look at statistics. We look at when the police have to use deadly force with white citizens. It's normally when a citizen has a deadly weapon. That's not true when we look at deadly encounters with black people in police. I mean, how many times do we have to hear another black man was shot in the back while he was running away from the police. And the police said, I felt in fear of my life. That doesn't happen often with white citizens. That's why we're saying it's a cultural matter within the police department. And unless we are willing to be honest and say there's an issue, these black people aren't crazy. They're using excessive force against us, but they don't want to say that. They rather try to attack us and say, oh, y'all are race baiters and so forth, just because we have the audacity to come and take a stand for our children. I mean, it's like Malcolm X said, that they call you racist for confronting their racism. And so we have an opportunity here, America, to really speak to this institutionalized police culture that show that it's not just about white officers or black officers or Hispanic officers. It's about police officers having this biased belief that you can get away with doing certain things to black citizens and brown citizens in America that you cannot get away with white citizens. We have to have this conversation, America. Tyre Nichols, Ms. Wells was right. God used him to allow us to have this conversation. Thank you. We will ask for prayer and peace as we prepare for the 6 o'clock Central Time release of the video, while all the world will see why we have to get justice for Tyre, and we have to use this to say no more. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.